And
Hello.
hey everybody, we're here.
We are here. Welcome to another wonderful show that we have planned for you today. Danny, are you excited?
I'm excited. I can't wait to do this. I asked what the chart was that we were doing, and I forgot it was mine, and then ours. Yep,
Right. You know, just some preamble because, preamble is the whole point of the show.
we are
Um,
preambulists.
right. One of the things I figured out was some of my favorite people in the world are Manny Gens.
Manifesting generators. No, we're meant to get along with manifestors. It's just the thing.
Like there's so many that I'm like, oh my god, you're a Manny Gen. Oh, no wonder I love you. Oh, you're also Manny Gen.
Well,
So a
they
fun
tend to stand
story.
out because they just tend to stand out.
Yeah, one of my so this is a fun story for you, Danny, because you have no idea what I'm trying to mention. So wow, that was a Google. Hold on a second. I'm having one of those days where my brain is not quite working. Um, so I had a good friend of mine visiting me from like university days was how I knew him. And we met in the salsa club. And he was doing his PhD and he was like stupid smart, like doing quantum computing. Like I have even no idea what the hell that is.
Right.
But him and I were just like, I don't know, jolly good time. He's one of the most interesting people I've ever met. He's like lived all over the world. He was just working in Japan. He decided he hated it and quit it, and now he's going back to Europe, and he ping pongs around all over the globe. And he visited, and I asked if he knew his design, and he had no idea what it was. So he kind of approximated his birth time. He did not have the exact information. But guess what, Danny?
He was a manifesting generator.
Not only a manifesting generator, a 2-4
Cut it
manifesting.
out. That's too funny.
Right? He's
Yep.
emotional and crazy to find. He only had 2 open centers. He had his ego center open and his
Head center. Yeah.
but otherwise like crazy to find. And I'm like, wow. And so one of the reasons he quit being in Japan was he was feeling incredibly isolated and lonely. Like the work culture there is very, it's not like social, like let's all be friends. So when I
Right.
looked at his chart, I found out, well, 1, 2, 4. So I'm like, oh my god, your 4 was like slowly
Slowly
dying.
dying. Yep.
His environment was kitchens. So I'm like, you can't be put in a lonely room by yourself and be expected to be okay. And he was split definition.
Right. Needing to basically be around others to bridge that split.
Yeah, so I'm like, you have
Mhm.
like 3 different parts of your design going, this is not right for me. And I'm glad he had the courage to walk away, because most people wouldn't quit their job without having something lined up. You just
Right.
like, I'll just float away.
Especially fourth line people, because fourth line people get so fixed in their ways that to become fixed someplace else takes a lot of work. So Ra would always point out, if you're a fourth line person, don't leave your job till you have another job. Don't leave your house till you have another house. Don't leave your girlfriend unless you're really sure. Because you're probably gonna go it alone for a while. And stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty wild. But yeah, he eventually just couldn't take it anymore, and now he's just gonna figure it out. So, yeah, I love that he was courageous enough to do that. And I think more of us should.
Well, when we analyze our designs, I think I'll be able to read a lot more into what the 1 and the 2 are doing together. Because the fourth lines are easy. We're just both friendly. We can't wait to talk at each other. Blah 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 blah. It's our favorite thing.
Yeah.
But what does that foundational binary mean to itself?
Oh, yeah, because we've never done that. That should be
Yep.
pretty fun. But yeah, that was my little story time / preamble that I thought is very appropriate for this episode. And then I think I don't know if everybody knows.
I'm telling you that we're everywhere. These manifesting generators are approximately a third of Earth's population.
Oh, you, my friend, are just jumping right into the slides. So might
Oh, is
as
that what
well.
we're at the slides? That's right. We're at the
We're
slides
we're
already.
already at the slides.
I
So
seem to
might
do
as
this every week. I don't even realize I'm doing it.
you're a master at just getting into the slides. So yeah, about 33% of the world's population. So this is looking specifically at Mani gens, not at all generators. I like to separate them out because they're actually quite different. But they are still the sub. So here's something that I actually, maybe I'll talk about that at the next slide. But they have the same strategy as generators. They have to wait to respond, but they have manifestor qualities. So depending on the situation, it's a good idea for them to also inform. And themes are the same as a generator: satisfaction, frustration. Do you have anything to add to that before we move on?
Well, yeah. I mean, the generator and manifesting generator have identical strategies. It's the same thing. A generator is a generator is a generator. The things that stand out. There's lots of differences. I won't start them now because I think you're going to get into them and start going
Yes.
into them. But this whole satisfaction thing, same exact thing. We're just look at frustration like a blunt object. Frustration is like trying to. All the other ones are more like a scalpel. They're angry at something, they're bitter at something, disappointed or successful at something. Generators, it's more like a sledgehammer trying to hit a fly. It's a blunt tool, it's the wrong tool, for the job. And frustration is just ubiquitous. Frustrated at what? Can't tell. All of it. Sometimes it's at something, there's no question, but everything frustrated because then it follows what the aura does. Every other aura sort of has a crisp direction to it. One's focused, one is repelling. Ours is just open enveloping, so it sloshes around everywhere, and that frustration does the same thing.
Oh, that is
So,
such a genius way of looking at it. It's just, it doesn't discern. There's no discernment. That's
well,
what it
they're
is.
well because we are in cooperation with the conscious mind. The mind will make discernments and measurements, but the frustration is just ubiquitous until it starts to narrow down to something, and then sometimes the frustration will be gone because you narrowed it down and did discern. But a lot of times it's hard. You just got to wait for it. It's the waiting. You wait to respond. And it's extra hard for a manifesting generator because they think they're manifestors. They've been raised under all that manifestor conditioning. And
Excellent.
it's no good for us. And we think we manifesting generators grow up thinking we can do. And we don't think we can do. We know that there's all this we have to wait. We all sort of know it, but and then we force ourselves to try and do, and every once in a while it works, is the thing. Every once in a while it works. It's not a 100% fail rate, and every time it works, it's sort of like the drunken gambler that thinks it's going to work again and again and again reliably, and it's not.
That's a good way to look at it.
That
So,
drunken gambler, yeah.
right. So
Yep.
the name comes from having, like we said, qualities both of a generator and a manifestor. However, some people throw around that, oh, manifesting generators are like a hybrid of the two types, and that is not correct. Not correct. What it is, it's still a subtype of a generator
Yep.
with traits of a manifestor. So
Let me change that
that's
word trait. It's not so much traits, it's they have a manifesting component. But if it does not first surrender to the inner Buddha that says, wait, my child, wait to respond to the life force that comes in on you, then go out and manifest. So in response, the generator becomes a manifester as long as they're responding along the way. It's like a rolling response. So at every turn, at everything, if they try and force a thing, they'll step back into their manifestor conditioning and get it wrong. But if they're being their generative self, they're waiting moment to moment, even while they're manifesting, for the new thing to keep the manifesting going. Because something might stop it. And if something stops it, they need to stop.
right. Okay. So you mentioned the frustration part already, but the other interesting nuance is because there's manifesting capabilities, anger from a manifestor can also show up in a generator, manifesting generator.
Yep.
However, it doesn't look the same. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yep. You explain your manifestor anger, and I'll explain my Mani Gen
So
anger. Because you'll see
manifestor
they're different.
anger, manifestor anger I feel like it really depends on which manifester it is, but it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away, and it toils and bubbles and eats away at you. And funny enough, manifestors are very prone to like ulcers and all sorts of, what was the other thing that I was reading about other than ulcers? But ulcers was like one of them, like liver problems and things like that. Like the anger is like literally eating your body because it's in there so long. So
If it's
I
too
can,
much, yeah.
yeah, and I can relate to it for sure. Like my
So it
anger
can
might not be
sustain.
yeah, my anger's not outbursty anger, but it'll be like seething for years,
Right.
and it's not fun. But anyhow,
Right. And it robs you of your peace. And if you think about it, peace is just like, hey, there's nothing else in my way. There's nothing else in my way. Whereas we manifesting generators don't mind. I guess if there's something in our way, we're busy. We'll go, that's not the biggest concern. Is there's something in our way. Also, the manifesting generator, our anger, when it shows up, it is like that of a manifester, other than it flashes. There is no slow boil to it. It's sort of just because it's frustrated trying to generate, and because that manifesting component, it can burst right out of the throat. And but then the thing is, it goes away at about the speed at which it came. It's hard for a manifesting generator to like stay. They don't stay that kind. As soon as they see that, it becomes an discomfort with the amount of power that we just released, and we didn't realize we were releasing that energy, or we didn't want to, and it just sort of escapes us, and we blow up and throw the thing out the window, or smash the thing, or yell at the person, whatever it is.
yeah.
And I did it. I did it today. Yeah, a stupid little gate was in my way. I had things in my hands. It was It was resisting me. I couldn't get it open with my knee. It started to fall on the floor. It made me spill
Oh.
something. I put stuff down. I smashed it. I just but it came and it went. It comes and it goes. Is the
Mhm.
thing. And the older you get as a manager, and the more you realize it only destroys things. See, a manifester
Mhm.
anger, I notice, doesn't always destroy things. It pushes things out of the way.
Or it eats you up inside.
Right. That's, well, it's pushing your true self out of the way. One or the other. It doesn't just destroy, like quick
Mm.
snap, flash fire destruction. And I
Mm.
notice my manifesting generator anger at times will simply destroy the thing, especially packaging. I'm in a hurry. I'm moving along, and the packaging won't open. And the next thing I know, I just full force, I tear it open. And even if it goes all over the floor, I'm just so pissed. I just put whatever's left in the bowl and put some milk in it and walk away, leave the whole mess, and then and then I'm stupidly looking at it an hour later when I do have to clean it up. But there's frustration that shows up quickly, and
It's
it
like
can.
a lightning flash.
It's like a
There 1 minute and
flash
it's gone.
flood. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it can just and it wants to destroy the thing, whatever it is, kick
Mm,
it,
flash
destroy it.
flood. Yeah.
Yep, flash flood. But
That's an
it doesn't stick
excellent
around.
analogy.
We can't navigate with it. We
Mm.
cannot navigate with it. You guys can. All we can do is see red and go blind from it. I mean, when I say
Yeah.
all we can do, there's versions of that, but basically speaking, we don't navigate from that,
No,
like we
you
do our
navigate
responsive
from the
nature.
frustration.
From the frustration and the responsive nature, the anger is just the loss of control of the navigation, is what it really is.
It's like when you accidentally let go of your wheel and you start spinning out.
Right, right, right. Exactly, exactly.
Oh,
Or
that's
your
so
whole
interesting because no other, I mean, again, it's a subtype, has that kind of thing where it experiences almost two sets of signatures.
right. Oh, well, no, it'll only ever experience the set of the signature that is satisfaction. It's deeply
Right.
profound, this
That's true.
satisfaction. It
Not
does
self.
experience two sets of not
Correction.
selves, absolutely.
Two
And
corrections of not self.
I'm not completely certain that that's natural. I've always toiled between this. Part of me is pretty sure also that it's the conditioning. In a
Mm.
different world, a different time, we'd still have the same frustration, but maybe not that way of the anger in that way, because it is so temporary, essentially, and it's totally chaotic. It doesn't steer us like anger can steer. An aware manifester can be steered by their anger. I am pissed. I am moving this way. And because they go that way. Good decision, brought them peace. I go that way, and that's a response to my anger, not the right decision. Because it's a
Mm-hmm.
response that's not, it's not an organic response. It was in the first place. The
Right.
organic
What's your
response,
kitty's name? I'm so distracted.
oh, Willie. His name is Willie.
So
Yep.
cute.
And Willie
Where did you
loves me.
find Willie?
I got Willie from Evie and Chris up at the Peak Prosperity Honey Badger Farm. Everyone should tune into Peak Prosperity podcast. It's a big deal. You can get it on YouTube and various places. He's given us good news. Chris is an information scout.
Nice. All
Yep.
right. I will drop in the link at some point. We're like completely getting distracted, but we were kind of talking a lot in depth about the not self themes, right? So some of the situations where Mani Gen might feel this is when resistance pops up. Like you said, something is in my way. And if it continues to stay in your way, it will be frustration and then anger, just like the gate thing that you mentioned, just like this
I would have
package won't
smashed
open.
it. I would have put my foot through it in that moment, quite possibly, had it stayed in my way any longer. Had I whatever. I
Right.
could feel myself getting to that. This was just today. I could feel myself getting there. It was in a moment, and I'm like, Dan, you're losing control of that, bud. And
Yeah.
I was watching it all happen.
Oh man. Another interesting nuance is so Mani Gens are really here to skip around and take those shortcuts. But in a world where you are rewarded and praised for,
Zipping ahead.
taking your time and really mastering it, they might feel imposter syndrome. It's like, I got this done in half the time. Did I work hard enough? And they might feel all sorts of strange feelings when they compare themselves.
That's such a good little nuance of a point. Gosh, Moana, thank you for spotting that. Absolutely. We can wonder, oh my God, I don't know if I have the depth because I know I skipped ahead. And by the way, it's not a shortcut. It's not when I remember when I was first using that term, it never seemed to feel right because we don't think we're shortcutting anything. We don't care. We're slipping ahead because the generative motor has a manifesting component that's really fast. And it's like, I don't like this chapter in the book. When I read the book, I didn't go from front to back. I'm like, I don't like this moment in the book. I just skipped forward. I kept doing it. And we do it with everything. When I learned how to write mortgages for my mortgage company, when I learned this, learned that, it's always sort of, there's a lot of skipping around because it's like the squirrel thing. Squirrels go here and they go there. It's like, what? If you watch a squirrel, I mean, they run right under the freaking tire of the moving car. It's like, yo, buddy, that's sort of what's going on inside the manifesting generator often. That squirrel effect, go here, dart there, get them an open route, totally. Go here, dart there, dart there. Give them a defined route, maybe a little less, but it's still the boss. It's still there. And so that's definitely a thing, that we do. So it's just skipping ahead. We don't think it's fully a shortcut. We're very excited if skipping ahead got us where we needed to be, and then we can tell the other, look what we did. It appears to be a shortcut. But the thing is, the other, as the generator, we need our brother and sister pure generators because they're like, dude, you skipped these steps and this is what we missed. We went level by level. And at the end of 6 months, I noticed we're both equally proficient in this thing. Except you had a little more stress because you skipped ahead and had to then bounce back and pick up the things you didn't quite understand so that you could write the reports right at the end. But you also skipped ahead and made the first sale and brought in the first bit of revenue, maybe, or stuff like that. How I'm using a sales shop as an example, or something like that. So that's just we need each other because one fills in the blanks, and then again, the manifesting generators are skipping ahead and very often finding that critical thing that gives the pure generator. It's like, dude, look what's over here. And now the pure generator in their step-by-step is like incorporating that. They can see what's coming. It helps them know more.
It's a great team.
It's a perfect team as long as each teammate can surrender to their nature. Because the manifesting generators will have that imposter syndrome. The pure generators, it won't be the imposter syndrome as much as it'll be like, how come they're moving so fast? And they'll want to do the same thing sometimes, or be mad that they can't. or won't. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, don't be mad that you can't and don't, but be happy. This is who you are. Follow
Mm-hmm.
follow your strategy and authority. Because if you start asking the pure generator questions, you want to skip ahead, they'll get disorganized. Their questions will have delayed answers because their mind will start trying to think, yes, I do. But their generative responses are like, not necessarily.
Right, makes sense. So we already kind of talked about the aura. So it is still a generator subtype. So it is going to bring things in like a magnet.
Mhm.
That still applies. There's no difference. And you went straight into the strategy. So, the nuance to it is depending on the idea. Maybe if it's like a decision that involves other people, it doesn't hurt to inform. As a
It just no,
manifester,
it truly doesn't. Yeah.
it doesn't hurt to inform. It's not asking for permission like manifestors. You're just letting them know, it's like, hey, I'm going to do this thing.
The
Just
thing
a
is,
heads up.
you're informing as a manifester, you might inform the day before because you can do so you can know what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm going to do. I have to wait until the world gives me stimuli to respond to something, a noise, a creak, a new
Ah.
thought through my head, a person calling me on the phone, an incident, something takes place, and then I'm responding to it. And
So
so,
that's interesting. The nuance in the informing is
yeah,
I'm
so the informing
informing
is
because I
I'm doing
know.
this. It's like, dude, I'm doing this. I gotta
Mm,
go. I'm doing the thing. So the informing is right while you're doing the doing. Sometimes it's beforehand. Don't get me wrong. I can't never be in advance. You might totally
right.
know, but then it does not. It's required to inform. If it's a day in advance, it's like it's not that big a deal for you guys. It is because as
Mm,
soon as you do, you got that aura that's impacting us, and it's already closed, and so we don't know what it's doing, and so it seems a little bit like, what are they doing? What are they doing? I'm an open book in this way. It's not so much what are they doing. It might be rolling their eyes. What's he doing now? You know what I mean? Which is different from being concerned really about what you're doing.
mm. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, taking, like you mentioned, the key difference is managers are honestly here to take lots of quick action and let go of the things that are no longer working. And that's actually correct for you. You don't
Yeah.
keep bashing your head against the thing. Like maybe pure generators can keep doing that and eventually figure out what will work. But you're here to be like, okay, if this is not working, I'm going to just go try something else. And that's okay.
Yep. Can you hang on a second? I think someone's knocking. Keep talking.
Sure, sure. So while he's gone, I will close out the strategy. So pay close attention to your authority for when the timing of something is right? Like you're still a generator at the end of the day, even if it's a different subtype, you're still waiting to respond. So you might not know when that thing's going to happen that's going to activate you to go do the thing. And your authority is going to let you know. And manifesting generators also come in two types, like generators, which is emotional, which means you have to wait out your wave. And then the other type is your sacral, which means you'll get that response immediately.
When they're an emotional manifesting generator, the trick for them is here's what happens when you mix the emotional solar plex with the generative sacral box, the sacral motor. The sacral motor is still giving them moment to moment truth of their type. It's still the same strategy, identical. They must surrender. But the emotional wave will collect those responses over time and create a much more in-depth picture with it in order to come to clarity about the larger the decision, the more they need to do that. To come to, so it's like an MRI image. They take many snapshots, and which in a generator's case is many different responsive moments
Ah.
to start to get clarity on where are they truly satisfied, because they'll start putting together a frustrating moment and then a satisfied moment and then a frustrating, and it'll come up with a clearer picture of I'm doing this and I'm not doing that, or something of that nature. Yep.
Amazing. So some of
Yep.
the obstacles that MGs have to overcome is, you still have to wait to respond. So you
Yeah.
have to deal with patience, but it's a different type of patience because managers also want to move fast. they want to go fast. They want to try a lot of different things, and it can be incredibly annoying to be waiting to respond if you're like, ah, but I'm so excited and I want to like just go.
Exactly. I've got a perfect example of that. I've been learning a lot
Yeah.
about law as I look into the law of certain political statuses that we all have or don't have. And I've become quite a bit of an expert on some of this stuff, or at least I'm getting to know it really well. They started our class. We had sort of, they were teaching a class and it was go through this, go through this, go through this, go through this. I got the first part of it. I put the audio, I mean, I put the thing on pause. I didn't get back to it for about a day. And I just opened up Black's Law Dictionary and went to the first word. And it took me on a goose chase through all of Black's Law Dictionary because each word led to another word, led to another word. By the time I got done, I went back to the audio tape and I still couldn't go level by level at the video instructional. I was skipping ahead, dreaming, daydreaming, going to another thing, coming back to it. It took me like 3 or 4 days to listen to the whole thing, and it was only a couple hours.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is I'm looking more into the variables, and you and I have the same right facing arrow. So
Yep.
when you said that you daydream, I'm like, oh, that's so correct for your variables.
Yeah,
There's
it really is. As soon as you have any right-facing arrows, especially the personality or the design arrow, which are the top two arrows, left and right. If you have a right-facing personality arrow, you're not you're here to sort of check out. You're here to check in and check out and check in and check out. You're not so focused and strategic about all the things. So daydreaming is actually really helpful. Daydreaming
yeah,
is just imagining the next thing. I'm just imagining something caught in a moment of reverence or reverie, imagining the next thing.
right. Yeah. Total sidetrack. That's a future episode way down the line, variables, but little tidbit for
Love
any
it.
wondering sneak peek. And then this is a fun one. This kind of reminds me of manifestors, honestly. Not wanting to get help. It's like, no, 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 I'll do it myself. I will do it myself. And trying to do it all in your head and like map it out, be like, yeah, yeah, I can pull this off. But again, you're even if you're a sacral, it doesn't mean you are capable of doing it all yourself.
No, mostly not. No, you're always going to be bumping into something else to have something new to respond to. See, every voice you hear is a responsive moment. Every word they say while you're listening are responsive moments. There's no shortage of stuff. There's no shortage of things for a generator or a manifesting generator, a generator to respond to. There's no shortage of stuff for the
Mm-hmm.
sacral to respond to, and
Mm-hmm.
almost ever really. And so they don't have to wait long.
Yeah, and this is another interesting one. Is like you're not supposed to stay with the thing, whatever you're working on. When it's time to let go, you can just do it. Like it's again very similar to a manifester. You can feel attached. It's like, this is my baby. I should like hug this thing forever. But again, you're not here to just specialize in the one thing and this is all you do. You're here to experience the life
Let's
of
nuance that. Let's
tasting
nuance
all the
that
things.
some,
Yes,
because
sure.
the thing is, the generator is very much the tennis player, hitting the ball, hitting the ball, expending the energy. So there are things that Manny Gen will be called into, will be hitting the ball, hitting the ball, hitting the ball, in which, especially if they have collective definition on the logical circuitry, they're going to identify with repeating something. So sometimes it
Mhm.
is, but really any other rule of thumb other than starting to tune into what are you deeply satisfied with. And satisfied
Mm.
means you can keep doing it. It's like, and you don't
Ah.
stop, you just keep doing it. And really for the true essence of what of that energy coming pouring off of our chemistry. Don't forget, our chemistry does this stuff. So it's real work being done.
Hmm.
And the real identifier, you have to go back and witness children because they show you the exact archetype of what that looks like. And then you have to dust off your dusty old ass adult self and get that conditioning out of the way for a minute and look at what was true. What was
Hmm.
true is, you remember the axiom or the maxims of law. The kid is always right. The
Hmm.
kid is always right. The kid inside of you is 100% every single last time. It is correct with what to do with your energy, no matter what the type.
Yeah. Makes sense. And one of the other things MGs get into, very similar again to a manifester, is they'll get into a flow state where everything is just clicking. And then if someone knocks on your door and throws you off, it can easily arouse that anger, just like a
It's the
manifester.
worst thing ever. We don't even want. They knock on the door. You know, we're stuck being polite because we're responding to the stupid stuff they're saying. It's not their fault. It's not even stupid. It's just got in our way.
Yeah.
And suddenly we're stuck being nice and da 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 because all of a sudden our aura has enveloped them and has pulled them in one way, shape, or form,
They
even if they're
take you
another
off
generator.
task. Yeah.
Yeah. And then all they have to do is start talking, and then each new syllable and sound is like a response for the generator. Well, I don't know. Well, you know, and all we're trying to do is get to the point. Hey, I'm in the middle of something. Can I hit you back later? You know,
Yeah.
and it's good for generators and manifesting generators to train the people they're with, that to train. It's good for all people really to train everyone around them. Sometimes I want permission to just be rude, like like
Or inform that, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing. Maybe don't disturb me until I'm ready to come out.
yeah, you know, that works for you guys. That doesn't work so easily for us generators because our aura is enveloping them.
Mm.
Your informing just informs them of what they're already feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's just putting it into
Well, that's
words so that their
interesting. Yeah.
consciousness can dial back and not be, you know, put off as much because it's so powerful. Your
Mm-hmm.
resistance and your closedness to them when you
Mm-hmm.
need, but us, we're enveloping them.
So you're basically bringing in the interruptions. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why it's so hard to peel away. We've really got to peel away.
It's like, this is so annoying. I don't want the interruptions, but my aura just keeps pulling them in.
Right.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
quite
it's just
amusing.
plain straight up annoying. That and so we're still looking for that satisfaction to do the thing. It's needed.
Yeah. So the things MGs here are going to work on to master is, like we keep hammering home again and again, create a bunch of different things, right? And you get good at the things by skipping around. We're going to reword shortcuts to skipping around.
Skipping around. Yep.
Right?
Yep. Skipping around.
And you need a lot of space, right? You need a lot of space to do things simultaneously. So that's kind of like a superpower of MGs, right? You can
Yep.
work on more than one thing at the same time.
And
And
get
you can,
lost in it all and get lost and make plenty of mistakes doing that is a thing. But yes, absolutely. Sometimes in a flow state, two or three things are happening, sort of seemingly to be simultaneous.
right?
Don't stay there, Manny Jens. Don't stay there. That's manifestor propaganda that you're supposed to live in that flow state and it's natural. It's not. If you fall into it for a few minutes or an hour once in a while, fine, run with it. But as it fades, let it fade. That's not normal. It's not
Mm,
natural to stay in that flow state.
for
Maybe for
extended
manifestors.
periods. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, manifestors, maybe not even them. I don't know that any of us are because it's, well, it's just, it
Well,
leads to
manifestors
frustration.
go into, like, I know I haven't, because probably I have too many things going on, but I felt like manic flow states where
Yeah,
I'm obsessed with this one thing and I can't let go until I've finished, or, you know,
mastered it until you've investigated
initiated
it.
it,
Yep,
whatever. Like it's
yep,
then I could be like, okay, I'm exhausted now, I'm just gonna veg out for like the next couple days, kind of thing. But yeah, that flow state in a manifestor form is like just obsessing over the thing, and it's like you might be trying to relax and you can't because that thing is still in the back of your head. So you're like, let me just
right,
like go back into that thing until it stops
right,
nagging me. I don't know
right.
if MG that kind of thing, do they?
Well, I mean, the obsession comes with the amount of mastery, that we're getting on something. If we're getting good at it, it's because the generative box released its energy. The generative sacral motor said released it. The chemistry was sent to it to release its energy, and its energy can now move things and do work and read and listen and sit still and listen, whatever that energy is needed to do. And as soon as the satisfaction gets deep enough, the obsession shows up as it's supposed to. Why wouldn't
Okay.
we be obsessed with being satisfied? You remember when you were a teenager and you first found out there was something called sex? You know, it's like that's what we were obsessed with that. I was, at least, to some degree. And so I'm deeply satisfied, and I could just all the work of all day could be geared at that. You know what I mean? I can
Hmm.
ride 100 miles on my bicycle. I can da 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 da. I'll lift the thing. I'll do the work because I'm deeply satisfied with something. Or
Mm.
or what have you. Yeah.
Excellent. So, that goes right into the next point of like there's so much lovely sacral energy if you're again doing the things that you love, and it is a great idea to take all that energy and put it across many different things. Hobbies, exercise, things that bring you satisfaction. Don't just work, 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 work. It's not a good idea for anyone, but especially sacrals.
Well, it's a good idea to have your life set up such that you can hop into another thing.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter. You haven't missed a quota or pissed off a boss or lost your way or whatever, or made your partner mad at you or whatever, that you can simply stop one thing and go into another. Because just like the kid, remember I might have told you this analogy. So the kid is building something and then they stop and they go start doing something else. They're
Yeah.
building a stick, and a parent comes along and says, "Why did you quit?" And the proper response for the generator, for actually all the types, but the proper response for the generators, "I didn't quit, I stopped." Two different
Mm.
things. Quitting was your expectation I would keep going. I'm a responder. I have no expectations. I wait to respond. We're not allowed to expect shit. And we do. No one is allowed to expect stuff. You don't know what's going to happen the next minute, but our strategy tells us specifically we're not allowed to really expect stuff. We have to wait to respond. We can set it up and expect that the sun will rise tomorrow. Fair, okay. It's going to rise every day, so it seems. We can expect that, I guess. It's not a hard and fast rule. It's into the nuance. I'm
Right.
expecting this little twist and turn of a fate here because I did this over there. Maybe, maybe not. We don't
Mm.
know. You're expecting of it is taking you away from your nature.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then it goes into your role, which I feel like we've hammered this whole, bunch of different times, but you're super unique and really creative, and you finished projects with efficiency. So I like to think of the three little pigs, and the Mani Gens are the ones that built the house with the sticks. It's like I needed a shelter, I got that shit done real quick. The generator was the one who made the brick house.
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah. It's quite unless the generators were there first or there as part of the whole thing and started doing the level by level, and then the manifesting generators filled in all these little spots and made it go fast. But
Mm.
otherwise, that's would be them working together, right? Otherwise, you're right. I could see the manifesting generator just turning the F up and building a shelter that can't withstand huff and puff and blow this
I
house
know.
down.
It's not like they know that the wolf's coming. It's like I need shelter. I need it now. Just
Right, right,
what is the
right.
most efficient, fastest thing? And if it's
It's
keeping
about the
rain
fastest
out.
thing. Yeah, it's our role in life is to keep that energy rolling so that the world keeps moving along. It's our
Hmm.
job to keep pushing things along. It's your job to make an impact on almost what gets pushed along. It's
Ah.
the projector's job to start to recognize that was a good thing that got pushed along. Oh, I noticed the satisfaction of all these generators is happy doing it. It's so let's direct them towards all of that. Let's
Hmm.
identify that and recognize it and then say it or
Hmm.
amplify it or whatever.
Right, right. So we've drilled this fact home, but I guess we'll drill it again. Core energetics is same as a pure generator. It's you're just a subtype, so you still have the sacral. But here's where it gets nuanced. Your sacral has the intelligence to be efficient, so you don't have to keep pouring in endless amounts of energy into one thing. You can pick and choose the things that light you up as an MG, and you initiate something quickly, but only after you responded to a thing, right?
Right.
And
And so you can almost retool that statement. The things that
mhm.
are going to light you up, pick and choose you
Oh,
because it's not your choice at first. I mean, certain things are your choice because you could have an imagination about something and suddenly realize you have to go buy a thing. Okay, then that might light you up at the moment. but you don't know because that was your imagination. And then you go buy the thing and the instructions are frustrating. You can't set it up maybe or something. Who knows? But
Mm.
it's a
So
little bit of both.
right, and this is an interesting tidbit I picked up somewhere. So Danny, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but generators are always told, pure generators, to go to bed when they're absolutely wiped out. But
And
MGs shouldn't necessarily operate from that condition.
yes, we
And
should.
really, and maybe go to
Totally.
bed before you're completely wiped out.
Go to bed when you're tired and you're bringing yourself to bed to fall asleep because
Interesting.
we're generators, a generators, a generator. We're
Okay.
slave to that motor, and that motor only wears itself out according to our strategy and authority and how much
Mm-hmm.
we've tortured it by not listening to it. One way or
Mm,
another, it's going to wear itself out. That's when you can fall asleep. That's why generators and Mani Gens
interesting.
have such a hard time falling asleep sometimes.
Because I think maybe this tidbit came out from somewhere where they were looking at the manifesting component of a
Yeah,
generator.
quite
Or it's
possibly.
like, yeah, it's like, no, like, give yourself a little bit of wind down time and maybe don't go completely zonked. But
That might be
you're a
good advice to any old person, generally speaking. It's just that the
gen-
generator's not going to start that wind down time until they're already wound down, until it's over, till the motor's run out. So it's
it's already time.
it's
Just gonna
already time. So pretend I'm winding down.
Speaking of already time, now we are going to go into the chart reading portion of our stream.
Let's
And
do it.
who best to demonstrate what a Mani Gen circuitry looks like than Danny reading for himself. And this is
Oh, that's so
the
sweet.
right. This is the lovely little chart. So I'm going to do a little bit of what I can see, and then of course you can read yourself. So what you can tell about Danny being a Mani Gen, of course, he has the defined sacral. But
Mhm.
also the fun part is you can see that his sacral has a channel. I can't wait, 14,
Yeah.
29. I can't read that number.
No.
Is
It's 15, 5, and then 3410 and 3420.
yes, are going to the throat.
Yep.
And
Oh,
that
yeah.
I was looking at
Two
that
channels. Yeah, two channels go to the throat. 10,
going
20,
to
and
the throat.
3420. Yep.
And that's what makes a manifesting generator different than a pure generator.
Yep.
Correct?
Direct connection right to the throat. Yep.
Exactly. Excellent. And the rest you can fill in. Yeah, it's all
Well,
you.
well, I'm looking.
Unless you want me to practice some more.
Well,
And
practice a little more. Practice a little more. You've got a manifesting generator. What do you notice about the open versus the closed centers versus the defined?
yeah. So he has an completely open ego, which is interesting. So there's absolutely no filter. So there is lots of room for conditioning. Thinking
Lots of room
I'm
for
not,
conditioning. Yep.
yeah, it's like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not, motivated enough right now to do this thing. And there's a lot of that not self that can happen if conditioning wasn't done around that center. But if you do realize your actual theme for that that center is you're not here to prove anything.
Not here to prove anything.
You're not
Yep.
here to prove anything. You don't have that crazy ego willpower to get things done. That's not where your juice
I
comes
used to.
from.
I used to pretend I did, and then I felt like shit
Mm.
when it wasn't true, and I had to
Oh,
work
you can
hard
you
to
can
do it then.
fake the centers. Yikes.
Yep. Yep.
God, that probably felt awful.
It did feel awful, and I mean, I was for the longest time. I would just think I wasn't good enough with this or that.
Ooh,
Yep.
yikes. All right.
Yep.
And then the other fun center to look at is the solar plexus, right? So it's like about a 50-50 split of defined solar plexus versus undefined in the entire world population. So
50-50 split. Yep. Hey,
yeah,
there's a door open in a giant windstorm. Keep talking.
yeah. So if Danny is around someone like, let's say myself, who has their solar plexus defined, he is basically taking on all of the waves emotions. He's taking it on and he will feel it much more strongly than even I am, because open centers and undefined centers, they amplify. everything. So it's that much stronger in them, which I can't imagine being fun
Well,
either.
and it also wants to avoid the confrontation. And there's one theme coming off of that solar plex. It's unconscious, gate 6. And it's in
Yeah.
the 6th line, so it's gate 6, line 6, and it's called the it's called the peacemaker. It's trying literally to either make peace or fight war, because the peacemaker is two things. The peacemaker is trying to make the peace, but the peacemaker is also a Colt 45. You know, the
Mhm.
peacemaker is, I got a cannon, I got a nuclear bomb, so so peace through strength, in other words. But it's in an open
Interesting.
center, so I don't know what strength is there. It's connected, and there's an open ego in my body graph. I don't know if I can prove that, and so you put
Mm.
those things together, and it's like it doesn't feel good. But it was desperately trying to find the right intimacy. This was always my thing, because that's the gate of intimacy. This is the gate of the pH of the body, to be open or closed to which thing, intimately speaking. And a
Mm.
fourth, being a fourth line, for a 2-4, I was always intimately and wanting to have lots of friends. And
Ah.
that was an intimacy that I could or couldn't take on, and I'd be very nervous and not right with people that I weren't right with. And if there was emotional issues almost always surrounding, like a girlfriend, for instance, if they were almost all emotional, because that's where I would have been attracted, and and then suddenly in that moment, once their emotions flared up because I wasn't doing what they wanted, for instance, or I wasn't whatever, I was not what, for whatever reason, if as their emotions moved, I would amplify that, or I would avoid it and become a liar. Oh, no, no, it's all good.
Interesting.
No, it's good. I'll get to that. I'm not getting to that. No, it's all okay. It's not okay. No, never mind. Not never mind. I should say something. Oh, I'll be back as soon as I can. No, I won't. I'm going to try and stay away as long as possible. I don't want to be there. All these things became little lies that would
Mm.
show up in my life that I didn't feel good about.
Mm. The
Didn't feel
other
good.
center that you like to talk about is your undefined root. So the
Hmm.
undefined root can take on external pressures from either someone who has a defined root or just pressure outside of yourself, and it does not feel good. It's like, I gotta get this done. I gotta get this done. I have like nowhere to go. How
Constantly
do
in
I
a
do it?
hurry to be free of the pressure. It's an incredible joke to play on a generator, because I'm constantly responding to things. And if I can't move because I'm under pressure to try and get rid of other pressure,
Mhm.
it's my responder is starts to wear itself out doing what it's not, doing what's not satisfying. And, talk about ulcers and shortening your lifespan. And the not self is the entrance point for disease and sickness on the planet. It's
Mm.
there. We
Yeah.
get unhealthy through our not self first, and then other systems start to break down, become susceptible to other things, and it's a slow boil, and it's an insidiously slow process. So it's hard to point at it while it's happening, but you see it after when you're sick.
Right. So the spleen is not my strong suit, but I will attempt to.
Spontaneousness.
Uh,
When you have a defined spleen, the spontaneity of your way is the spleen is a spontaneous event, just like a sacral, but it's truly spontaneously
well,
aware. It's
what I was
aware.
going to mention about the spleen actually is I was looking at it from the perspective of my son, who has a completely open spleen, and it's either they can again get very conditioned, taking on the fears of all the things. It's like, be cautious of this, be scared of that, and be very fearful. Or you can swing the other way and have like zero stranger
You forget, you
danger.
don't
Just
even know what to be fear of. Now I
yeah,
have a theme. I have a theme coming off of this. So
but you
so
have a
that
theme because you have your
gate 44.
unconscious
Yep.
44. Yes.
It's also in the 6th line, and it's called aloofness. It's asking you to basically withdraw before you make a decision on what to transmit to get that ego willpower to transmit a message. So it's a surrender to a type of withdrawal. It's aloofness. And so my spleen, it goes along with my second line profile, because my second line profile would like to be aloof sometimes. But with that, it's fear. It's got a fear. All the spleen gates, all the gates of the 3 awareness centers come with a natural fear. A fear that drives intelligence. Fear drives intelligence, and we have to
Mm-hmm.
know that. And
Mm-hmm.
so when it's a completely open spleen, you don't know what to fear. And so you can think that your cape is going to hold you when you jump off the second story of your house, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the stupidest thing ever because only Mary Poppins can float down on two umbrellas. You're going to sink
Or
like a rock.
Or
Or
Batman with
Batman or
all
some.
its gadgets.
Yep, and stuff like that. So you don't realize that it's not safe. The spleen is there to keep you safe. Now, I have an open spleen, but with a theme. So there's always awareness of what is safe or not safe potentially, but I'm never sure of it. My spleen is not giving me moment to moment hits and awareness of what to be sure of. So I have to constantly navigate. Is that a thing? Is that not a thing? I don't know.
Right,
And
because it's undefined, right?
it's
Because if it was
undefined.
defined, you would get that
I would
moment
have a
to moment.
more certainty over more sureness over that moment to moment. No, I'm safe. Like open spleen people, as soon as they start to get a little sick, what is this? What is that? What is this? What is that?
Hmm.
Defined spleen people more likely tend to be like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine until they're wicked freaking sick.
Ah,
You
that's
know,
good to know.
open spleen people are good are always trying to find little homeopathic remedies for this and that, and they're always ready to apply an ointment or have or ingest a thing or to suck down a pack of vitamin C or something. And the defined spleen person is like, yeah, I don't even care about that stuff, and they just sort of they
Yeah,
don't
you
think
just
about it that
described
much.
my hubby to a perfect T. He has a defined spleen. He's like, yeah, I don't need the doctor.
Ah,
Yeah,
ah, 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 ah. Right. And so it's
okay, I didn't know that was a thing. We're totally
yeah, and the not
spoiling
self
our
of
own
this is whole.
episodes, Danny. We are
Yeah.
supposed to go into the centers at some point. Let me just keep rolling around to your other centers.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so defined sacral. Defined sacral means you have consistent energy to do the things that you love. If it
Right.
is a thing that you do not want to do, you are going to turn off. You're
Right.
still going to have burnout. You're still going to lose energy to do it. But if you
Right.
are doing the thing you actually enjoy, you have consistent energy to keep trucking along until you're exhausted. You sleep and then you re-energize and you repeat it again.
Absolutely. All day long, each of those things. And the defined G center sits there and tells me it's the cross of the vessel of love. So either I hate myself or I love myself. It's one of the two. That will show up
Oh, so the G
as
center being defined, I would, my very basic reading of that is your sense of self and your sense of identity is very consistent no matter where we would be
no
plotted.
matter
You could,
where I
yeah,
am. No matter
you
where I
could,
am.
you could be in a homeless shelter. You could be in a room full of professors. You would have the same level of self identity no matter where you are, and people could
Literally,
treat
as I
that.
get tuned into my strategy and authority, I stop looking for love and direction, essentially. And
Mm.
because I never was designed really for it to have a defined G center. Open G centers are there to be open to the right love and direction. Me in my whole life, all I ever did was smash into something, and then suddenly it provided a love and a direction. I didn't know if that was right for me. I couldn't tell until some time went by. It was a thing. And the truth is, I didn't listen to my responder voice over and over again. I had responses that said, and I didn't listen to it.
Ah,
I
that's
don't know.
something you worked on as you went by. But speaking of consistency, that same thing goes into your throat. So the way you speak, the way you articulate is and your tone is consistent
Right,
when you
right.
speak. That is
Def
your defined throat.
Yeah, defined throat. Exactly. You and I both have that. So, it's your turn to talk type thing. That's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay with the defined throat. People aren't worried about what they're going to say. We're not really open to it. We're already saying or
Hmm.
not because
Hmm.
it's been defined our whole life. And then there's that split. There's that split. Gate 23 is my only connecting gate. The gate on the top of the throat center that's pointing at the gate 43, which is at the bottom of the green ajna center.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
That's a split. I don't have a gate 23. That's the gate of explanation. Gate 43 is the gate of insight and breakthrough, and it's really hungry and always desirous to make a breakthrough,
Mm.
a cognitive, mental, conceptual breakthrough of, aha, I got it. And it's doing that with the confusion of the channel above it and the doubt of the gate 63 in the head center. So doubt and confusion lead to realization and breakthrough. And then suddenly I want to spit it out. And guess what? No 23. I've had to learn my whole life to wait for the right timing so that my responder is spitting out my words. Because I would always try and take advantage of the manifesting component and make it happen. And I have no gate 23. The explanations weren't there. The concepts were there. If someone could have been inside my head, they could have translated that for me, but I just couldn't get it out into words right, or I couldn't impact the other with the explanation. It just it's
Ah,
I wasn't being that metamorphic 23 that's taking the noise of 43 and turning it into something that can be articulated.
so I'm going to skip to the head real quick.
Yeah.
And you're, when I look at a defined head, right, first off, that it's not very common to have your head defined. It's a minority thing to
29 or
have that,
30% of us have it.
right?
30%
So
about, yeah.
busy minds. Don't turn off minds. But
Yep.
also the ideas that come out of those minds are original. Like one of the things that I heard Ross say is if you have an undefined head, you've never thought an original thought in your life.
Yeah, it's the originality of the thoughts aren't what's important. It's the following your strategy and authority and recognizing as a generator, but I'll speak for myself as a generator.
Yeah.
Are these thoughts causing me turmoil? Is there something worth going through? But if I had an open head center, it's like, oh, these are all pouring through. None of them matter.
Ah, but
None of
then
them,
how does that differ because you have it defined?
they all matter, but none
They
of them
all
matter.
matter.
And they all matter. In other words,
Mhm.
I can toil over any and all of them. And it's fun for me to allow them all to come through. What happens, what goes wrong with me is when I give myself a hard time because I can't enact it. No gate 23. So don't think that
Ah,
every realization you have, you get to spit out, kid. Don't think they're all going to do something with all of them. They're fanciful realizations coming from your bright-minded, personality that's
yeah.
taking in everything. You can't help it. So don't plan on turning it off. Don't try to turn it off. Let it go to work constantly, constantly, constantly,
Hmm.
and use the voices that God gave you. I have three voices sitting in here, gate 12, gate 20, gate 16, and allow them to be,
Hmm. And
you
then
know.
we go into your ajna being defined. So ajna is the center that's constantly looking for certainty, for answers, and
And
things like that.
making concepts and conducting measurements and being a fanciful little playground, a toy box for children to go discover the next new thing, come up with a new idea, develop opinions, reach for the details that flesh out the opinions and get the insights and the breakthroughs out into the world to create the abstract beauty that is becomes logical in a system that empowers others. I'm keep going around the gates when I was doing that. I was keynoting them different ways. And
Hmm.
and so it's a toy box. It's there to measure, literally, quite literally. Measurement is its primary thing. Concepts are measurements of this and that. They're
Hmm.
juxtapositions of this and that, or the
Hmm.
original concepts where there's still a juxtaposition somewhere. There's still a measurement going on,
Hmm.
putting this with that. And so concepts are opinions, they're ideas, they're insights, they're breakthroughs, they're all kinds of things, and they're
Hmm.
pushed by the head center. And because I have steady, the certainty of the ajna is not the problem.
Hmm.
I speak in a voice that sounds of a certain amount of certainty. If I don't have it,
Ah,
if I
interesting.
right, and so I can't help that.
Hmm.
It's not my fault. And so people are like, "Well, you don't know." It's like, no, I know. It doesn't mean I'm right. I just
That's your personal certainty.
right. It's my own personal certainty, and it's subject
Ah.
to change. It's subject to change. It's just a fanciful ajna center that's not even technically part of the rest of the inner body in a sense. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful awareness that they're measuring all the fanciful things it can measure.
Now
You
this
know,
is now unless there's something. Is there anything more you wanted to look at as for gates and channels in your body
no,
graph?
no.
No. So the other idea I had was how do you determine after looking at your body graph where your profiles are coming from? Like I know you're a 2-4,
Well,
but
on
how
the
can
right
you
hand
just look?
side, when you see 10 and 15.2, the dot
Ah,
two is the
okay.
2, and 46 and 25.4 is the
Hmm.
4. So everything on the right side of the decimal point is the 2 and the 4.
Now, is
Notice
it
this.
always the same number or can it be different numbers?
Well, I want to make sure I'm answering your question right. For different
Hmm.
people, it'll be different numbers, obviously, because different
Right.
times birth. But for me, these numbers will stay the same my entire life, and it will always be the Sun Earth personality is the first number, 2,
Right.
and the Sun Earth design. Notice the Sun Earth on both sides always have the same number. It's because they have to. They're oppositions to each other.
No, that
Yeah,
wasn't quite my question. My question
okay.
was, so the fact that your sun and your earth happen to both be the same decimal points.
The
That's what
same.
I
They're in the same line, the second line
Yeah,
of
the
that
same
of the
line. I
hexagram.
don't
Yep.
think that happens all the time though, does
Yes, it
it?
does. Yep. The Sun and the Earth are always in the same line. You'll never find a chart where the Sun and Earth are not the same line.
Okay, so like 10.2, 15.2. So let's say we're point 0.4. It would be point 0.4 for the sun and the earth.
Yep.
Eh?
If it's point 0.4 for one, it's the fourth line for one, it's the fourth line for the
Okay.
other. These guys are, again, they're in opposition on the wheel. They're opposite sides of the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So the second line on one is the same thing on the other. They're exact mirrors of each other. They're opposites.
Okay, this is like chart reading hacks.
Yep. Start reading hacks that you can.
Yeah, because usually I would always rely on the thing that says blah blah is your profile, but this is like real practice
Yeah,
of
you just
like,
want to be able to
no,
look at a chart and be like, oh, 10 2, 15 2, 46 4, 25 4. This person is a 2 4 profile. And then
yeah,
also, as you get to know the incarnation crosses, you're like, oh, 10 and 15, 46 5. Oh, those are the incarnation. That's the incarnation cross of the vessel of love. So it's a 2 4
how
vessel of
many
love.
combinations of incarnation crosses are there? Is there like
Let's
how
see,
many?
hang on. Let's see. 8
Oh, it's a
plus
lot.
16 is 24, plus 32 is 6. There's 64.
64. Okay, I wanted to originally say 64. It's like the same number as the number of gates then.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, 64 is a lot to memorize, so it'll take some time. But I wanted to go over your profiles. So the 2 4, right? Your 2 is your conscious line, that's the part that you identify with. You're like, oh yeah, I can see that for myself.
Yep.
And the 4 is unconscious, so that's more likely to be recognized by people outside of you. And they're like,
That
you're
you
like
see
really
over time.
social.
That
You're
you see
super,
over
and
time.
you're like, I'm not social. What are you talking about?
Right.
And then you're like, yeah, depending on
I
the
would hear
time.
it all the time. You're so friendly, Dan. You're such a good friend. You're all the singing. And they would keynote me with just the word friendly. The fourth lines are
Mhm.
designed to be friendly. And
Exactly.
I would
It's like
wonder, is that,
you're pretty warm,
yeah.
you're pretty nice. And you're
And
like, but my 2, I would just want to be in my shell.
but whatever they would say to me, I would be like, well, God, I hope I'm not a fake. They think this thing of me. I don't know for sure if I'm that. My second line hermit doesn't know what it is. It's
Yeah.
in a
So
shell.
someone described the 2 4 beautifully. It was the introverted extrovert,
Yeah, totally.
right?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Because that second line doesn't know what it knows. Sometimes it gets called out to do something it is not ready to do.
Yeah,
That
and like
second
so,
line,
like the 2, for example, the reason why they're called introverts or hermits is they are very comfortable being in their own presence, that they don't necessarily need to be around others, and others naturally notice them. They're like, you know what, you're like really good at that thing. Like you should come out and do it. And they need to be
yes,
coaxed out to go
yes,
share their gifts by
yes.
external circumstances. So that's
Right. And that
and
comes
they're
the fourth
natural,
line. The
and they're
keynote
complete
of
naturals. They have no idea that they're good at it. They're like, nah, what are you talking about? And it's like, no, you're like really good at the
it's
thing. Like
worse
you
than
should
no
go
idea
share.
if we're suddenly nervous because we can feel that expectational pressure. The second
Mm,
line is a line of projection. Other people are
yes.
projecting, are basically picking up that I might be good at something, and then they create their own expectation inside. It's a sort of
Mm,
step down from the fifth line. The fifth line is straight up projected upon. I think they are good at this, and they better be, and I want them to do it for me. For me, it's more nuanced. It's like, oh, this cat might be the thing, and because it's that right angle part of stuff. It's the bottom first 3 lines of the hexagram. It's more self-concerned, so they know they have to pull that person a little bit out of a shell. They have to go be nice to them. They have to sort of see them. The fifth line, they're already wondering because there's a seduction at play. The second line,
mhm.
it's not the same seduction. It can be a little bit seductive, but it's accidentally seductive. It's not for real, because we
Right.
don't even know. Willie, no, you
Right.
don't, buddy.
And then I was going to explain about the fourth line. So I got familiar with the fourth line for my not only for myself, but my whole family's line 4s.
Yep.
And I don't know how that happened, but fours are naturally people.
Yep, yep, it's
They're
true.
people, and they're that person who knows a person for everything. So we'd be like, you know what? I think I'm looking for a plumber. It's like, oh, I know someone. Hold up, let me. They're the Rolodex people. They always have a
Right.
person for a person, and they have a wide network. However, interesting nuance. They might have a very wide network of lots of people being able to do all the things, but the people that they truly trust and are their inner circle is very few people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. The number goes down is the more you need to trust them. It's absolutely true because we don't know, but we're just not willing to let anybody go easily. And that's
Mhm.
because fourth lines act like the glue. It's the only spot in the hexagram that truly is the changing line. Because think of
Mm.
what happens on the 2-4. It goes from right angle profiles, and it's the only gate, it's the only line that then steps into the left angle profile, and then finally into the juxtaposition profile, and then finally transitions out into the left angle profile. I know that I'm speaking Greek to most people. I'm just saying it. The 3 and the 4 end up being this changing place, very much so, and the fourth is always trying to externalize that change, that changing place, and so it doesn't want to give anybody up, and it has these attributes like it'll abdicate and give up a little bit, and people sometimes think it's a pushover. It has too
Oh, the
many people, and
people
it's
pleasing.
yeah, and when
Mm-hmm.
there's too much people pleasing, too much going on, they suddenly get people fatigue. It's just
Mm-hmm.
fatigue. That's a
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of what shows up in it, and it's what they need to look at. It's just they get fatigued, and they
I
need.
want to tell you a story of something that happened literally today of people fatigue. I had 4 calls back to back with completely different sets of people doing completely different activities in each call. And by the time all those calls were over, I was zapped. Like I actually like my mind went into a fog and I wasn't able to I was starting to doubt if I could even come on stream. Like I'm
Right,
like I am dead. I had to lie down and I passed out for 2 hours. So I'm
right.
like if that's not people fatigue, I don't know what is.
It's people. We're supposed that fatigue is there to let us know enough is enough. Enough is
Or
enough.
I
It's
even
a
I probably overdid it. I shouldn't have had that many meetings of that kind of variety of that many types of people. Like people think, oh, it's just a Zoom call, but you're still energetically connected if you're on a call with someone. It might not be the same intensity as in person,
right,
but it's
right.
still there.
No,
It's
it's totally still
absolutely there.
there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then I'm like, huh, so that's what Zoom fatigue is, eh? Like jumping meeting to meeting with like so many different people for extended periods of time. Like this was not fun. And I don't think I've ever had that many variety of people
It's
in the
just too
same
much
day.
people overall because this creative way of the fourth line, the creative way of the second line, this
Mm-hmm.
absolute creative mix is harmony. Basically, the second line just wants things to be harmonious, and the creative way of the fourth line is aloneness. So it's a real juxtaposition because in one sense
Ah,
they're always networking. It's a friendly networker because the
yes.
fourth line is concerned with becoming influential. We just want to be
Mm.
influential. Hey, I found the thing. I'm going to tell my whole network. Now everybody knows. Yay
Yeah,
me.
that's how I
Yay
felt
me. Yeah.
about what was it? Okay, this is a completely stupid what's the word I'm looking for? Completely tangent topic, but I discovered a thing that can prevent jet lag. So you could fly halfway across the world and you're not going to feel jet lag. And ever since I discovered this, I'm like, oh, anyone who flies needs to know about this. So you don't have to be
Right.
that one person who's like slogging through jet lag. Let me tell you, this is going to change your life. And that's all
Right.
I wanted to do is tell everybody about this.
Right, right. And this I can understand. That's what we want to do. We're trying to externalize the next new thing. We are the great externalizers. And in that, we become the glue because we abdicate on one end, we externalize on another, and we're concerned with keeping our network together so we can befriend people and ultimately be influential with them some way, somehow, some shape, or they become influential with us and we become influential together. It doesn't matter the combination. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we don't care how that goes together. We're
Right.
polydextrous with all of that. And
Right.
so
But then your line 2 comes in and it's like,
it
okay, you've
says,
had enough people.
uh-uh,
You've had
uh-uh.
enough people. You need to go recharge in your cozy home. Just
You,
go.
you just need to isolate essentially and basically you start to sidestep others, because what ends up happening is the second line just doesn't want the behavioral requirements that are coming in from others, doesn't want the coaxing, the cajoling to be a certain way. Anything. It
Mm.
doesn't even matter what it is. It's like, oh, we're gonna eat. No, we eat around 5:30 here. Stop. Turn off to me. Don't tell me how to be. I don't eat at 5:30. Or whatever. We're not
Ah.
gonna say that because the fourth line is all friendly. It's like we might even smile and go through dinner and not even
Yeah,
want to be
it's
there by
a
accident.
real tug of war, I would
Yeah,
imagine,
it,
being a
it is,
2 and a
dude.
4.
It's a huge
Like,
tug of war. These profiles are all the tug of war. They're all a tug of war.
speaking of tug of wars, would everyone like to see the tug of war between Danny and I?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's see it. We've never done this before, even for ourselves. So this is just as new and shiny to us as it is to everyone watching. So one thing I want to keynote, again, this is me practicing. I feel like a fledgling little bird, and you're just like pushing me towards the cliffs. Like, no, you can fly.
Oh,
You can
I
fly.
won't.
Just
I won't
try.
let you go off. We
Oh,
promise.
thank you. So one of the things that I like to tell people when they're looking at two people's charts at the same time is think of people's body graphs. I think it was you who told me this. They're like walking puzzle pieces, and we're always looking to the next person to kind of be the slot to make that puzzle piece
Fill in the
complete.
puzzle. Yep.
Fill in the puzzle. So one of the ways we do this is with the centers, which is the shapes. So if you
Yep.
look at Danny and mine, there's plenty of places where I'm very open and he's defined. So that naturally has a magnetism to bring us together. So that's
Yep.
one way. And then another way is the channels, which is the lines that are going across both of our body graphs. So he might, I have not looked at this very clearly as to if we fill in or do we fill in each other's hanging gates or things like that. But that's a thing that usually bring people together.
Absolutely. So we have these two very powerful electromagnetics, and the thing is, they're very mutative. I would call them amongst the most mutative in the body graph, because you have a gate 3 and I have a gate 60.
Where are you looking? This is
I'm at the
also
bottom in the root center.
Oh, the root center. So I am still so new to this. I have no idea where the gates are located. So if you see me looking like this, trying to find something, that's usually me squinting, trying to figure out where the hell the gate is that Danny just mentioned. So
Yep.
full transparency for everyone. I have no idea when it comes to the gates and channels where they are. So I'm learning with all of you while Danny guides us so gently. So he told us to go look in the root. Okay, so I'm looking at the root. Now what was the gate again?
You have a gate 3 coming off the bottom of your open sacral.
Right,
And I have
yeah,
a
I
gate
see it.
60 coming up from the top of my open root.
Okay,
This makes a channel of mutation. This is powerful, because as an electromagnetic, what happens is, it doesn't matter that we get stuck. As soon as we're able to actually surrender to the fact that we accept whatever the limitation is, we suddenly transcend it.
Mhm.
And your gate 3 comes in and it gives ordering to it all. And you help suddenly finish as soon as your sacral, Kitty, stay down. As soon as your sacral is lit up, because we're, let's say, in the same aura, this all starts to come and take fruition, whereby my 60 is trying to pressure the change of something, and gate 3 is trying to catch that pressure and generate a response that puts things into order. It's called ordering. And the gate and this channel of mutation is very mutative, and it's very sad when it's not mutative, and it's very happy as soon as it catches the wave in a pulse and suddenly starts to create something new. And then our next electromagnetic is wicked happy about that, because you have the 22 and I have the 12, and this is the design of a social being, the channel of openness that is open to the communication and affecting everyone else.
So for everyone wondering where that is, look at the solar plexus and then the 22 is coming off the solar plexus, connecting to the throat, which is where the
Yep.
12 is. So
And
Danny
I have
has
the
the 12 coming
Yep.
down from the throat, and I have the 22 coming up. So we meet in the middle, and that's what I mean by we are pulling each other, because we
Yep.
have hanging gates. Hanging gates means you
Hanging
have
gates.
part of the channel, but not the whole thing. So
Yep.
someone else comes to help finish it.
Like the puzzle piece. So the puzzle piece of gate 22 comes into my life through you, and it fits in like a puzzle to my gate 12, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And so suddenly this emotional channel, which is closed or open to its own emotional way, because again, it's individual, so it's either in the mood or not. When this design is in the mood, it knows it can do anything. Gate 12 in the throat has a voice that says, I know I can if I feel like it. I know I can if I'm doing it already. I know I can if I'm in the mood. It's simply, I know I can or not. That's a manifesting notion. That's a manifesting way.
Right.
That's why it's a manifesting channel. I know I can. It knows it can.
And then the 22 has what special properties? The
22 is the manifesting fuel of the emotional solar plex center that has the grace to not only listen, but the emotional wave to come to clarity of what it can and can't do. So it's emotionally clear of what it will or not, but it's emotionally charged. It's got an emotional charge that fits the purpose of coming to what we want. This channel simply wants, it has a deep want of things.
So are you saying we have a deep want to bring human design to people and make it
and become
accessible?
Consequential? Yeah, and externalize it and become consequential, because when you put you and I together, we both have a fourth line in our profile. Mine's in my design and yours in your personality. That networking, that externalizing cannot wait to externalize. It just wants to externalize.
Because I think
the main keynote.
We both, that's one of the things that brought us together. I'm like, more people need access to this information.
Absolutely.
Like, there's, astrology is so out there in comparison to human design. And
I mean, yeah.
It's been around longer, sure. But, it's life-changing stuff. And I think that's why we keep coming back, honestly.
Yeah, if everyone could please just keep deeply in mind, not a belief system you're looking at here. It's a science, not astrological signs and figures that are hard to interpret per se. These are the representatives of ways of the genetic codons that are in our body. It's coded into our body. We're scientifically reading that in a way that you can experiment with it yourself and see that the experiment always repeats itself. You're always able to experiment and see for yourself. So each of these gates is a genetic thing in your body causing you to be a certain way, and you just can't help it. You're not supposed to help it. So
excellent. Okay, so what else do we have?
Well, so I wanted to talk about this binary of ours. So every hexagram, right? A hexagram is those 6 lines of the Chinese I Ching, right? Each hexagram has 6 lines in it. Just like our genome, 6 lines breaks into 2 groupings of 3 or 3 groupings of 2. In the groupings of 2, we get what geneticists refer to as the base pair, the intermediate pair, the final pair. Final pair is the 5 and 6. The intermediate pair is the 3 and the 4. But the base pair, the foundational pair, is the 1 and the 2. In human design, they act as a foundational pair as well. In other words, they literally are the foundational 2 lines of each hexagram. They work intrinsically together, just like the Mani Gen is skipping ahead and the regular and the pure generator is going level by level. The first line is investigating all the aspects, and the second line comes along and it's either just a natural at that or not. The first line is saying, I'm building a foundation, I'm doing all the hard work, and I'm looking at all the factors. And the second line says, I don't know what I'm looking at, but I notice I'm always open to seeing what no one else is noticing. The first line is digging in the ground, making a foundation. The second line is sitting up in the crow's nest, looking out over things, not knowing what it's looking for until it's like, hey, I see smoke over there. We might want to do something.
That would explain our dynamic a lot.
Yes. Exactly. And sometimes the first line is like this little freaking second line douchebag isn't doing what it's just did. And the second
Yes,
line's like,
I have
what?
had that thought many times.
Yeah, yeah. And the second line's like, I'm a natural. When I get called, I'm there. When I'm called, I'm
Uh-huh.
there.
Mhm.
And stuff. And and it's hard just because they can be at odds with each other, but they make the foundation of what it is to be human. We investigate, we build, and we notice the shit that we didn't think to notice. We're either
Mm.
natural at it, or we've investigated and become the authority at it. Both of
Mhm.
them are leading to be the authority on a thing. Both of them have built an incredible foundation. One of them had no idea it was building a foundation. One of them did.
Ah, okay.
And the second lines are designed to skip across the tops of all the foundations, and the first lines are designed to like notice the foundations of all the things and build the requisite material that creates a foundation. And it seems like these two are meant to be together. They just have to
Mhm.
surrender to their ways and stuff.
Very cool. All right. That was interesting. I don't think I've ever heard about like, how the lines play off each other like that. So that's very cool. And then we explained the electromagnetics and then what about our
Open
centers?
centers, yeah. So together we're 8 and 1. We have one open center between us when you put our two charts together. Can you identify which
The
one it is,
spleen.
Moana?
The spleen.
Am I right? Did I say one?
We
Oh
have the
God, no, we
spleen. No,
whoop,
we have the
we have,
spleen and we have the
we have two.
ego.
I
We have the
apologize,
spleen
Eric.
and the ego.
Yep, spleen and the ego. So that's 7 and 2. So
Hmm.
between us, seven centers are defined, and two are open. So together we
Oh,
don't
we
have
have
to.
two. We both have completely open egos.
Yep,
We
and we both
absolutely have nothing to prove.
and we both have an open spleen. With you have two activations. And one of them is the same one I have, 44.
Oh
And
my, yeah.
yep, and so this let me see, 44 is on the left side. Yeah, you have a 44 there. I'm looking for your.
I have a 44 and a 50.
Yeah, what line is that 44 in? 44 line 6, 44 line
Oh, my
5.
my my 44, where it is, it's Pluto,
That's line
line
6 and
6.
5. Line 6 and line 5. Yeah,
There's an,
so
oh yeah. Hmm.
yeah, just like seeing them. So when there's an open ego floating around, this partnership isn't here to prove it's the best. So we will hurt ourselves if we're trying to prove anything,
Okay.
essentially.
We're
Yeah,
just
and when
doing
I
this
say,
for fun, folks.
well, we no, we're doing it to save the world, but
Yeah.
we're empowered to do that. We don't
Hmm.
have to prove we're right, is the
We don't
thing.
have to prove we're right. We don't have to prove we're the
But we're
best.
empowered to do it. We're absolutely
Yeah.
empowered to do it.
Hmm.
That's what it does. And then this open spleen, we don't have to concern ourselves so much with safety. We'll always be looking at what feels safe, what's not safe, what's safe, what's not safe. We'll always wonder what it is per se, because we're
Mm-hmm.
always going to be looking at it. So it's up to us to not hold on to bad ideas because we think they're the only safe one we can know.
Mm.
And so the thing is, when there's two open centers, there's always a little bit of work to do. 7 and 2, there's some work to do.
All right.
Because
What's the
and
work?
the work is, I may be sitting back with nothing to prove while you're concerning yourself with what's going to keep us safe,
Hmm.
because we don't know. And
Mm.
so the work to do is coming together with recognizing that, or vice versa, it'd be the other way around. Um, or the work to do would also be the not self of the open ego comes out, and either one of us or both of us, and suddenly we're both trying to prove something, and none of us want to admit we're wrong
Mm.
because we weren't proving it if we admit we're wrong or something like that. And so it's work to do. And so the open spleen comes in and says, you need to be spontaneous, just sort of hurry and hang on to this thing, even if it's not good for you.
Hmm.
Hang on to the thing, even if it's not good for you.
Hmm.
And the ego's like, I don't want to hang on to the thing, but if I let go of the thing, I might not be. If I don't hang on to the thing, I might look unworthy. And so you and
Ah.
I each could have different processes going on more easily and wondering what's going on with the other. And it's up to us to not concern ourselves so much with all that stuff. It's just a trust. Hey, we both love human design. We both want this thing to happen. We're both going to show up on Wednesday nights and do certain things. And we have the knowledge to move mountains. Anybody needing to know
Hmm.
stuff, as the more people that show up over time, the more they will see we're human design gurus. I mean, I know this stuff inside and out, and I'm
Hmm.
willing to share. I got no ego, so I'm always trying to, got nothing to prove, but at the same time, I'm always trying to find out what thing's worth trying to prove. So I am
Hmm.
trying to prove human design to people. You know what I mean? Because it's the right thing to prove. I'm open to it. So should I try
Hmm.
and prove this?
Right.
Um, and so forth. So together, other than recognizing, that's the one thing that we just have to recognize that we have to do. We also have two. It looks like we have two a couple of spots where there are compromise.
Oh yeah, yeah. Compromise. Let me see if I can spot them. Okay, 1949.
Yep. I only have the 19 and you have the whole channel.
Right. Yeah,
So
I don't. Oh, I see them. 64,
yep.
47.
Yep. I have the whole channel. So 6447 is interesting. My confusion on things is actually helpful for me and it's a hindrance to you. Seemingly, it's helpful for both of us. Don't that's the real truth. Everything we are is helpful for the other, some way, shape, or form. But it feels like
I think a good
Danny.
example of this is all our sound issues before we come on stream.
Hmm.
What do you mean
Right,
you can't get the sound to work? It's the most basic thing we need working to go live.
right, exactly. Thank God that it's in now. But
I know.
so, but still, this it can. My confusion is like I'm perfectly happy with being confused. I used to not be at all, and now
Yeah.
when I feel all this confusion coming in, I recognize something cool is going to show up. I'm going to
Hmm.
realize something I need to know. I
Hmm.
just have to wait. And for you, that can feel like torture. It becomes a compromise. Suddenly, you're stuck compromising to my confusion because you just want the
Yeah.
realization part. You just want to break
Yeah,
through and
I'm
have
just
that.
like, we just need this working, like now.
Right, right.
Why is this not working?
And I'm like, no, grasshopper, I confused. I don't know something. But it doesn't mean you don't cut through a thing, and it doesn't mean I have to stay in a confusion zone. Together, we
I
just
think we
recognize.
found a solution today, right? It's like,
Yeah,
let's
we
use
did
a thing you
great,
already
Moana.
have. You already have this, you
Yeah,
just have to try again.
yeah, no, we did absolutely wonderful with this. Another so the 19 and the 49. This 1949 is a channel of synthesis. You have the whole channel. It's
Yeah.
emotional. It's driving towards the various unions that make the principles and the contracts of like we'll let you in the tribe, we won't let you in the tribe, we're going to do things this way, this is how we're going to use our resources.
Hmm.
That's what this channel's doing, and it's for the tribe. I only have
Yeah.
the 19, so I'm just eager to fucking hurry up and find all the resources and put them all together. I don't care what they are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm just trying to find the resources. I'm under pressure to do what gate team does and approach the other. And you're more smooth about that. Maybe I'll approach this, maybe I won't. And so I have to surrender to your pace of approaching a topic, approaching a thing, approaching others, and I have to
Ah,
surrender to
I know
what
exactly
resources
what
we
you're
do and don't
talking
have.
about. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, for example, I have a very clear idea of what each episode is going to unfold as. And
Right.
I described this to Danny. It's like, look at it as a textbook that's building on top of each previous episode. But I know sometimes Danny's like, no, but I like really want to talk about this other thing, and I'm like, patience, friend,
I end up,
patience.
yeah, I never end up really pushing that river. Someday,
Mm-hmm.
as a responsive measure, my generative motor will push something, and it'll be up to
Mm-hmm.
you to recognize what principles are we dealing with here.
Right.
What is the thing? But mostly, I have to just surrender to that. It's
Yeah.
a and they call it a compromise because I think I want it this one way, but your life force guarantees you're doing it your way. They're never going to be the same thing. They
And then
can't be because
I
you're
was
you
gonna
and
say,
I'm.
how is the also when you so here's just a funny thing. I was reading a book about manifestors, and they were saying either manifestors can either swimmingly get along with manifesting generators, or they can really butt heads. What are your thoughts on that?
Of course, we can butt heads. Because
No, I mean like way worse than the other types together is what I mean.
well, yeah, because of the energy to sustain up butting heads, and then as soon as we start
Yeah.
butting heads, the manifester who can do more head butting doesn't know when enough is enough, and the generator who can go ahead and never stop head butting doesn't have a clear picture of what the headbutting's for necessarily. And so they both infuriate each other, and they both have the energy to sustain at a thing because the manifestor is amplifying that generative motor.
Mm.
Yep, and then the generator is amplifying the not self of getting angry back and starting
Yeah.
to generate a response of that back, and it's more than just frustration at that point. So yeah, I would say a manifesting generator and a manifester butting heads is, well, you know what? My ex-girlfriend was a manifesting emotional manifester,
Mm-hmm.
and we butted heads like there was no
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I saw when she amplified my energy, it was like crazy. It's like, you got to be
Mm.
kidding me. Yeah, I can't tell you these things that would go through me. It was like,
Oh,
I'd see,
that's so. I mean, ideally, again, we're on the side of like they get along swimmingly. I think we're on that side of
yeah,
like
yeah.
we get along swimmingly
You'll get
versus the
mad at
butting
me for something, Moan, and it'll be up to me to not take it personally and for you to work through whatever that is. I will be frustrated with certain things at times. It's up to
Yep.
me to recognize, just wait, Dan. It's not her, it's you. It's your frustration. It's not her. It's not the other person. It's not your mom. It's not your friend. It's always you.
Mm.
The whole thing, you point your finger at someone and there's three fingers pointing back. That's such a wise statement beyond
Oh,
what it
that's
may have
so
even
brilliant.
been. Yeah, way beyond what it may have even been wisdom towards in the first place, because the truth is all that chemistry is inside of us. The sadness is
Mm.
not because of the other, it's because of us. The anger, the emotions, whatever, all the things, they're happening in us.
Yeah, I think that was one of the wisdom that was always said over and over again about, let's say, the emotional wave, right? Is whatever the default human setting is to attach a reason or a meaning behind those feelings. But coming back to it's just the mechanics of my body and it's just chemical and it doesn't mean the things is exactly it. It's like this is just a me thing. It's not a yeah, this thing made me mad and this thing made me mad and that thing made me mad thing, which is what we default want to do. So yeah,
I
it's a
saved the
brilliant way to
hardest
look
one
at
for
it.
last.
Oh,
I s-
let's hear it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You have a gate 10 in an undefined center,
Yes.
right? So that's in
Yep.
the G center.
Yep.
Okay, that's the gate of behavior. So you pretty much know how to behave because this gate of
Pretty
behavior,
much.
well, it's
I think the
yeah,
operative word pretty much.
no, absolutely. It's the behavior was said once, um, you know, if you're standing on the tail of a tiger, beware.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were good at playing with the tail of a tiger. They could not get eaten by the tiger and so forth by holding onto its tail. But, holding onto the tail of a tiger, please beware. That's behavior. If you go into,
Mm-hmm.
so you have a behavior. If you go into a jungle and you're carrying a loud radio with you and making a ton of noise, something's going to find you and eat you. You know to change your behavior. You're around your
Right.
mom and your mom's aunt and you're at Thanksgiving dinner, you stop dropping all the F bombs. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right?
Sure.
Just you name it. Our behavior is something that's just people without a gate 10 truly have to be open to learning all the various behaviors, and they're apt to have a behavior that they're just not certain. You
Mm-hmm.
end up with a certain amount of certainty over that, and it shows up because
Yeah.
you have a gate 10 and it's
Right.
easily conditioned in whatever environment you're in. So your behavior will get you out of there if it's not the right place, and it'll keep you in there just fine if it is. Right place, you're with the
Yeah.
right
The
people.
undefined G
Uh,
centers, like their
G's,
identity is fluid and
yes,
it changes according to their environment. Mm-hmm.
G centers are famous for knowing they're in the right place at the right time because that's
Oh, that is so true. Like, for example, this is
if
a
you're aware.
context. Yeah,
If you're
I don't
aware.
know if I've ever told you this. So, for example, I am not on speaking terms with my parents
With
because
who?
my parents. So
Oh, bummer.
when I'm in the same environment as them, it always felt awful for like the longest time I can remember. And I put up with it. I put up with it. I put up with it. Eventually, I broke, and I'm like, no, the four is strong. There, like, no, you're supposed to keep in touch. Even if they drive you crazy, and it feels really yucky, and they say and make you feel like shit all the time.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and eventually, I was like, you know what? I am so much more at peace And I'm like, I'm following my piece. And I realized I'm like, that was not the right environment for me. It being in their
If
presence was just like
right, when you're not in the
so
right place, it
awful.
guarantees you're with the wrong people, not
There
bad
was so
people.
much anger. Yeah, it was
Right,
just, and
right.
there's a lot of conditioning. That's what it was. I realized that it's
When we
like, so
get your
for,
parents' charts, we're gonna find out they compromise the crap out of you. That's what we're gonna
oh,
find.
that's the tricky part, right? Is they have no idea what their birth time was. So I was approximating their
Yep,
charts, but what I do know is my dad is a projector, and he is conditioned up the wazoo. So he's bitter at everything, everything.
right, right,
And so there was a lot of that. And then my mother is a generator, a pure generator, and she was basically being puppeteered by my dad. And a friend of mine made me realize, it's like, that actually makes sense for a non-sacral to use a sacral in that way. And it was like, that's
right,
mind blowing in all the worst ways. But
right.
it's like, now that the dynamic makes so much sense to me.
Well, do you remember any of their channels? Because
No, no.
some of their channels, I guarantee, I shouldn't guess that guarantee, but I would
Mm.
highly suspect are channels that you only have a gate in.
I mean, I
Yeah.
was also chalking it up to the fact that it's like they had no idea how to deal with a manifestor child. So,
Well, that's true too, but in that not knowing how to deal becomes partly it shows up with these compromises. Compromises are the first thing you go to when you see a relationship being difficult or falling apart. You go to
mm,
compromises and you go to the number of centers they do or don't have when they come together. So let
yeah. Again,
yeah.
I'm like, what's the point of checking? Because it would not be an accurate birth time anyway. So, I mean, how do you
Well,
deal with that anyway? Like, if somebody really wants to be read and they have zero
so here's
clue.
the thing. I don't know how to do this, but I don't know if I can do this. And maybe I have done it at times, but there's
Mm-hmm.
people that can douse out what time you were born. I don't know how. Like
So
at the
I've done that. Funny enough, it's called muscle testing. So you
yep,
can use muscle testing because your cells know. The cells of your body know exactly what time you were born.
yep.
But
There's a
the
clock.
only way this doesn't work is your cells have been so deeply conditioned that sometimes getting the answer out might be more complicated than usual. Like, for example, I had a friend of mine. I just stop sharing screen for this. This is like story time.
Hmm.
She very, very conditioned, crazy conditioned. So I had to basically like clean out her aura, basically, before the clear answer could be doused out, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
I used a sound bowl constantly, like using the purifying tone of the sound bowl around her aura. I was using what's it called? I was using like energy hands to get it out. I think I burnt sage around. Like, I had to do all three, and only
It's
then.
all a mystery to me. Everything you just said, I'm shaking my head, but I'm
Yeah,
not shaking it in any kind of understanding.
right.
Right.
But only then did the answer come through. Like, so you know what dowsing rods are, right? You can
Yeah,
turn then your entire body into a dowsing rod.
of course.
So
It
it
is a
will
dowsing
lean,
rod.
yeah, it'll lean forward for a yes and it'll lean back for a no. But your aura is basically not able to help that answer come through if it hasn't been cleansed. And some of the ways you can cleanse it is what I mentioned. You can
Right.
use a singing bowl. You can use like smudging, like a sage stick, a saltwater bath. But ideally, you're doing these things on a semi-regular basis. So if you've never done it before, there's a lot of crud to clean up. So,
Well, the way I douse out a time, and I
yeah,
do a little bit of just intuition. Sometimes I just don't know, and I'll just use intuition, and I don't know if I'm right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
other things I do is as I'm talking to the person, um, I look at other charts that we do know, like your parents. You don't know what time they are, but when I start talking through compromises, that'll change a little bit as the time of day changes. Suddenly you'll recognize one, and I'll be like, okay, so this is more the right time. So stuff like that can help me
Oh,
find
so
it
you're doing it directly through the body graph kind of thing.
directly through the body graph. And so I'll be using
Ah,
intuition at that time to just keep talking to the person and find out, well, I'll start keynoting something and it just won't feel right. And then I'll change the time of day to a few hours later and something will show up and that will feel right. So that's another way to do it. None of them
Interesting.
are, to me, none of these things feel really solid. There's no substitute for knowing your time.
Yeah, like the way I found well, actually, there's another third way if you don't know. And again, not everyone has access to this. So I went to a Vedic astrologer. So Vedic astrology is the sidereal way of calculating your astrology stuff.
So you
And
went into the
this,
Akashic record.
no, that's a whole
Okay.
different ballgame. Akashic
Well, that's Vedic.
records,
That's Vedic too, though, I thought.
no,
Ish.
Akashic records is going into your soul's memories and pulling out the records. No, Vedic astrology it's just like astrology. They just use a completely different calculation. That's all. But he was able to use just looking at the palm of my hand and me giving him an approximation of when I thought I was born and got it down to the minute. I have no idea how this dude did that. It was
That's impressive. That's the type of
wild.
thing when I see that unfold, I'd love to see it unfold a couple times and then start. That's impressive. I don't know
Yeah.
what's behind that. I don't
I don't know
pretend to.
either. I always thought palmistry was a bunch of hooey until that dude did that. Because
Right.
then I double checked it with the hospital. I harassed them over and over again until they released my birth time. And
Right.
so he predicted it was 6:40 and the right time was 6:41.
Bingo. Right.
Right.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good, I'd have
Yep.
to say. Absolutely crazy town. But what was I going to say? We're like completely sidetracked off of what we
Well,
were
there's
talking
another thing.
about.
Well, because there's another thing you can do to find the time. But you have to know a body graph really well. So when I was doing for some of the world leaders and some of the
Yeah,
famous
yeah.
people when we were doing that, I wasn't always able to get a time for sure. And so I would take
Yeah.
that body graph and I would just start plugging in different times of the day, and I would imagine, does this feel like the person I keep seeing? Does this? But I had to have an
Mm,
intimate knowledge of the body graph itself, so I could just zone out, take my right mindedness, which is now taking everything in, every color, every vibration, every sound's all coming in.
right.
I don't know what it means. I'm just waiting like a channeler to see if something comes out. It feels this way. And some body graphs I have absolutely developed that way and they
Oh,
feel good to me.
that's why, like, for example, I guess,
But I can't rely on that. It's per
yeah,
se.
yeah, you can't rely, but there's some people, like, famous dead people I always like to think of. That's like Napoleon. Do we know what time that dude was born? Probably wasn't recorded anywhere because he wasn't like royalty per se. So,
Oh, yeah, that was recorded somewhere, but hang on. I'll tell you what I figured out for Napoleon. I think I have his chart. Give me 1 second, because
yeah, that would
this is
be
interesting.
fascinating. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about anything we've been talking about, I'd love to see it. If you're enjoying our content, please, give us a follow. It helps us immensely. We want to keep bringing you all this amazing knowledge, and we promise you it's just going to keep getting deeper and more exciting as we go along. And what was I going to say? For the body graphs, like, we do have readings open on stream. So if you see a message from our coffee bot, it has the link. You can click on the link and you can be in for a reading. So Danny and I would love to help you get started on your human design journey. And as far as I know, no one else was offering readings for such an easy, affordable price at all.
No, absolutely. I make sure everyone gets read. Just call it in so I can read for you. Everything will change. Your whole life will change. It's the best money ever spent. And I'll read for you regardless, one way or another. So,
And you found Napoleon. While you're finding Napoleon, I was
well,
gonna
I did
quickly.
find
Oh,
Napoleon, but I don't trust the
yeah,
time. I just looked at it and I said, I don't think I gouged out this time. I think
yeah,
someone
yeah,
gave
yeah,
it
yeah,
to me. Someone gave
yeah.
that
So
time to
we'll
me. Yeah.
probably have to look into it again. But we were rattling off on the G Center before I completely got us
Last
sidetracked.
compromise. So the
Yeah.
last compromise is this gate 10. That gate 10. So look at, I have two channels going into gate 10. I
Yep.
have the channel of centering, which is 34 to 10, and I have this channel of awakening, which is 10 to 20. You only have the gate 10.
Mm.
So your behavior and the things that you would like to see done according to what you're investigating, right? According to
Mhm.
the impact you feel you want to make, it sometimes surrenders and is compromised by my erratic manifesting generator behavior. So my behavior is annoying to you at times. It can be a compromise to you, and
Mhm.
it's the mundane for features of behavior. It's not
It's like,
overall
Danny,
behavior.
get those prompts done. What are you
Yeah, yeah.
doing?
Get the thing done. Hurry up and finish with your coffee. Can you please be on time? Would you whatever the thing is, pick the thing. Whatever the behavior is,
Hmm.
like and you've done a pretty good job of surrendering to certain things. I notice I can just talk along, and when you're sick of hearing me talk, you do interrupt. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's a behavior. But the way that you are, the way that you're going to actually see into yourself, the way you're going to feel in the right place sometimes feels compromised by this integration backbone I have from 34 to 10 to 20, which is
Hmm.
all speedy, zippity doo dah, self-centered about me right now.
Right.
It's self-concerned. This
Hmm.
this this 34 10 20. It's a self-concerned set of gates that create three channels out of three gates, and it's self-absorbed with its own self-survival and its own truth in the now.
Hmm.
Its own right now is really its first concern, and that can be very off-putting to other gate tens that are just a
Mm.
hanging gate or a hanging gate. At least as a hanging gate on an open center, it's sort of less conditioning because it's only intermittent that you would notice this. If we're
Mm.
on a defined center, it would constantly be nagging at you that I
Oh,
am a pain in the ass in a certain way, which is really just a compromise that you haven't surrendered to. It's not that I'm a pain in the ass. It's not that you think I'm a pain in the ass. It's that you haven't surrendered to a compromise yet, or anyone hasn't.
interesting. Okay.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting
So
to know. I mean, I guess the only other thing I can think of is like it's nice that we both have the right facing arrow
yeah.
for the personality side. The top right arrow
Yep.
is what I'm referring to.
Infinitely open. Infinitely open. Yep.
Hmm. I
It's
don't
just
know how the others play out with each other.
well, I noticed the others are in the opposite direction except for our environment. Our environments are both left facing. Um,
Hmm.
which is cool. Again, we have a foundational environment. I have a second line environment, which is marketplaces, and you have a first line environment, which is
Shores.
um no, that's caves.
Hmm.
Um,
Whenever I pull up my environment, it always comes up as
Shores.
shores.
Okay, so then it's the circle that gives it to me, and the triangle that is the first tone. Okay, never mind. So you have this six color, which is shores. Yep.
Hmm.
And a tone, that's right. And the tone, which is one, which carries it. You're right. I see that. So it's a circle. It's just different.
Yeah.
But both of ours are facing left as it relates to that. So it means we're the busy ones in our environment. We're being observed. We're not necessarily the best observer in our own environments. We're sort of busy in our environments being observed.
Mm.
So I
Describes
mean,
the stream pretty well.
yeah, no, it should. We should be being observed. I like our rightness as well. Our
Hmm.
right facing arrows on that personality side, which are the same, leave us infinitely open and receptive to the not knowing and the recognizing that you and I, whenever two right facing personality arrows come together, if they're aware that they have a design and they're aware to human design, they can simply surrender and recognize they'll infinitely pull stuff out of each other.
Oh, that's so nice.
It's wicked communion. Let me tell you, it's good stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, we will infinitely pull stuff out of each other, little exciting things that do this and do that, and they're always in the now. Always
yeah.
in the
You
now.
can't plan for that. It's
You
just
can't
candid
plan for that.
moments.
Right.
Hmm.
These are always right now.
See,
And
this is
so,
why we're doing this live. I think it'd be very different if, it was like a pre recorded thing. It's not quite
yeah.
the same.
In fact, I've only ever done these things live now that I think of it. It's very rare that I ever pre-recorded anything.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, a lot of people watch us on the replays, but I think it'd be very different if like people are interacting and we're interacting with them back and that kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah,
Right.
that'd be wicked. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we bid everyone adieu for the night?
No, let's bid everyone adieu. I can't really think of anything else, really, I like the fact that there's really nothing to prove. So that's going to be our challenge as we think we have to prove something or
Mm-hmm.
be better
Or
than
like
someone.
I think for me, right? It's like the way that the proving thing comes out. It's like, okay, like how many people are live with us? How many people are watching our replays? You know, have we gotten XYZ milestone done for the stream? And I'm trying to like come back to those metrics don't matter. Open ego, open ego.
Right. Well, the only metrics that really matters is, do I feel like being here? Am I at peace with this? Does it feel good? Do
It
I feel,
always feels good. It has.
yeah,
There's not been a time where it has not felt good. I feel
same
like
here.
I'm
Yeah,
doing what's the what? I feel like this is like universe's calling for me at least. It's
me
like I'm
too.
doing a thing. I'm making like human design accessible. It's like super important to me. Or like I think I told you, Danny. It's like so much of human design is behind very expensive paywalls. It's like you want to have like one-on-one time with people, like you're thousands of dollars away from doing any sort of really deep work. And we
That's
just want to
true.
bring it to everyone for,
No, it's true.
nothing.
Right. If we could,
No, it's like this is all nothing. You can go study this stuff on your own, but it's completely different when you have someone hand holding you
right.
and not asking anything for return. I mean,
I
he'd
had
be nice, but that's not what we're here for.
I had three separate people doing hand holding. One of them happened to be dead, and because I had it through his recordings, and the other two were my two
Bruh.
teachers.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, friends, like I said, we are, eternally grateful for who is coming on live and people watching our replays. Please do give us a follow, and we will be back next week. We are going to be doing our last type in the type series that we've been doing with you all so far, our reflectors. We may or may not have a special guest joining us for our reflector episode.
Wait a second. I thought we were supposed to. Oh, that's right. I'm an idiot. The
Yeah.
the I'm the person who's the manifesting generator who came on tonight. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah, I was
That's
like, who's
funny.
our guest tonight? It
Who's
was
our
you,
guest
right?
tonight? Who's our guest? Right,
Yeah,
right.
it was you. But yeah, we may or may not. We have not confirmed it yet. But either way, it's going to be a fun episode looking at the unicorns of
Yeah.
the types.
Yep.
And yeah, after the types, we're going to start going into the authorities because we have been kind of skimming over the authorities really quickly, but we'd love to like dive deeper in so you really have an understanding of how that comes up for you.
So we're doing the reflector next week.
Yeah, reflector next
Good.
week, and then after that, we'll get into authorities. But
Good deal.
friends, have a wonderful rest of your week, and we can't wait to come back and see you all next time.
Nighty
Take
night,
care.
everyone.
Night, night. Bye.